probably thinking, she's wearing the same clothes again. In the last video, she was wearing the same. But I'm batch recording. I'm literally recording one video after the other, after the other, after the other. It's much easier for me. And then I can relax over the Christmas period. But in this video, I'm going to share with you how to deal with emotional triggers, or just kind of a chat about emotional triggers over the Christmas period that we're gonna experience probably. And yeah, so with that being said, let's get straight onto the video. So over the Christmas period, you can guarantee that you or somebody else in your family, or whoever it is that you're hanging around with over Christmas, is going to get triggered. Whether they react or not, they will take that with them home and just be really upset or angry about whatever it is that was said. And what I want to share with you is that we all have emotional past pain that we've held on to, that we have associated with our family members. And we associate this with our family members because usually they're the ones that have caused that wounding, that pain, and particularly our parents. It's not always the case, but a lot of our internal wounding, our triggers come from childhood experiences that we've internalized, and the stories we've told ourselves. And that's the key to remembering here, is that these are only stories that we've told ourselves, about our experiences. How we perceive something may not necessarily be how somebody else has perceived it. And when we go back to these memories again and again, when we feel it or when we remember it, when we're going back to that same experience, that event in our mind, it changes every time. It's been proven that every time we tell a story, every time we go back to that, we change it every single time. And I can testify this because my son wants us to make up stories for bedtime now. It really keeps him present to the moment and calms his nervous system down for bed when we make up stories that are actually about him, like Aaron goes on a venture with Ted. And it's the same story every night, but it changes slightly because we're trying to remember it. We're trying to remember exactly how it was, but it never is the same. And that goes for the stories we tell ourselves about our experiences. Every time we remember that, or we're speaking about it to somebody else, it's different than how the actual event took place. So that's the key to remembering here, that it may not actually be as bad as how you remember it. That's not to invalidate anybody's experience that they went through as a child, but all these are stories that we've told ourselves, and how our ego has identified with these stories. Our ego is telling us time and time again, every time we feel this pain, the emotional pain, our ego is going, hey, there you go again. There's that. That's what happened. This is who you are. You are this person because you went through that experience. Your parents did this, this, and this to you. They are awful, horrible people, and you are awful, horrible person. It just says these things. It internalizes you, because what this is doing, this is bringing safety. The ego just wants to remain safe, and so when we identify with all these, it becomes just who we are. So when you're remembering this around Christmas time, just think, this is just a story, and I can change this story at any time. It's not really who I am, it's just what my ego has identified with. It's just that belief, that subconscious belief programming that my external world told me about myself as a child and that your needs weren't potentially met as a child. And that's not to say that these things didn't happen to us, because I went through a heck of a lot of a child. I went through abandonment, I went through divorce, I went through abuse, I went through sexual trauma, I went through a lot as a child. And this is not to say, well, I know everything about trauma because I've been through a lot. This is just to say that yes, I've been through a lot, but also I can change it. It doesn't identify who I am. I can change it at any moment because identity is flexible. Your identity can change. And same goes for that emotion, because when we feel the emotion, that's when it brings up that memory. It's never the actual memory itself, it's the emotion, the feeling of it, because we are bodily creatures. We feel things. Our nervous system goes haywire, and often that means being triggered a lot by family members. And not only that, they suck the life out of us. Like, don't get me wrong, Mum, if you watch this, you're probably not, because I don't think you even watch any of them. Yeah, if you do, you've got to let me know. But my mother drains the life out of me. Not so much anymore now. I've done more inner work and I have boundaries. But when I used to go around it, I used to come home feeling depleted of energy. Like, for example, when there was the COVID and all that, we sat in our car, and then she came out her house and said hello. And I think my son was under 1 at that time. I can't remember. Anyway, and just that interaction, it wiped me. And it's usually because of like what they say, the energy they give off, and it's just, yeah, it depletes your own energy. You feel like you're constantly giving and pleasing, and you're dimming your light a lot of the time to, yeah, please that other person. So around Christmas time, we are gonna be emotionally triggered. But remember here, boundaries are key, and that your stories are just stories. Your experiences are just stories, and you can reframe these at any time. But if you are struggling with boundaries, go and watch this video here where I share up everything about boundaries over Christmas time. And until then, I will see you on the next video. Much love.